What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is the first video I'll be filming since my return from Asia. I was in Computex, or in Taipei for Computex, for about 7 days, and I was traveling around Japan for 10 days after that with the wife. I'm finally back, so this is the first thing I'll be shooting since my return, and I am severely jet lagged at the moment, so forgive me if I pass out midway through this video and do not wake up. But this is gonna be a fun little Q&A, just super casual. I just asked you guys to ask me some stimulating questions here on Twitter, and let's see what you guys came up with. The mass drop in Sennheiser HD58X Jubilee headphones are finally here. Enjoy crystal clear dynamic sound with the 150 ohm drivers while treating your ears to soft velour padding for endless comfort. Catch the drop on this one-of-a-kind item before it's too late. You can learn more in the link below. How much time do you spend making videos, scripting, recording, editing, and do you have something that you're really good at, like sports, cooking, or dancing? That's two questions technically, but I'll let it pass. The first part of that is really just depends on what kind of video I'm doing. That determines how long it's going to take to make from start to finish. For example, this is a really quick video that we're doing right here. It'll probably take anywhere between 5 and 10 hours from start to finish. But if it's something like an in-depth review or even an episode of Stack Attack, it can take anywhere from 15 to 20 hours when there's heavy benchmarking or analysis involved, or a multicam setup that is just going to tank us in post-production. So it really just depends on a case-by-case basis. Do I have something that I'm really good at? Besides making the occasional decent YouTube video, there is one hidden talent that you guys probably don't know about me. Let me show it to you. On a scale of 1 to Jesus, how attractive is Gamers Nexus? I'm assuming you're talking about Steve from Gamers Nexus. On a scale of 1 to Jesus, I would put him at, come on, obviously it's a 1. 1 being the most attractive. How much RGB is too much RGB? Honestly, you can have as much RGB on your system, on your case, as you want. I really don't care. When I have a personal issue with RGB and just aesthetics in general is when users are spending more on the look of their system than performance. If you don't care that you're running your game 15% slower than you could be because you really just wanted it to look nice, then that's fine, that's your personal choice. But if you're trying to maximize the price to performance of your system, yet you're spending $30 to $50+ on lighting, then that's where I would draw the RGB line in the sand. Most anticipating game announced at E3. I was actually in Asia when E3 was going on, so I caught bits and pieces of it, but the two titles that caught my eye, one was Cyberpunk 2077. I think just the trailer was phenomenal, and the artwork and style and design of that game just speaks to me for whatever reason. So I can't wait to try that out and potentially benchmark and that sort of thing. But it wasn't a gameplay trailer, it was just sort of a storyline trailer. As far as the most exciting gameplay that I got the most hyped for, I would say The Last of Us Part 2 really made an impact. It just looks so fun, the combat style looks great. I feel really conflicted about it, of course, because it's a PS4 exclusive and I don't own a PS4, so it's one of those things where it's like, is this game gonna be so great where it's worth buying an entire platform for and investing into that ecosystem? I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts on that. How many sticks of RAM do you currently have in your possession? Oh, I have enough RAM in my possession right now that if I sold it all, that I could buy an island with an island in the middle of it, an islandception. So I have two sticks of RAM. I just got an Asus Strix GTX 1080 Ti, running it with an Asus Maximus Hero 9 and a 6600K overclocked to 4.6 GHz. How much of a bottleneck is my CPU on the GPU? I would assume not a lot. If there is some, it's probably very little, and it probably wouldn't be worth going, upgrading your entire platform to, say, an 8700K with a new motherboard, just for a few percentage points, unless you're doing something that's really gonna utilize those additional cores and threads that you'll be getting over your quad-core 6600K, such as streaming or rendering. If you're throwing either of those tasks into the mix, then perhaps you might want to consider upgrading to a higher core and thread count chip. But for now, I think your system's gonna do just fine for the next few years. Besides bragging rights and higher FPS, what does overclocking actually do for you? It can do a number of things besides just improving the performance that you see in games. For example, anything that's really taking advantage of your CPU or your GPU that's dependent on clock speed will see some sort of a performance boost. For example, editing. You might be able to shave down seconds, maybe even minutes off of particular encodes if you are overclocking your CPU and GPU, depending on which of those components you're actually utilizing when encoding. Certain day-to-day tasks like web browsing, for example, you might not see much of a difference when you're overclocking versus not, because it really requires very little processing power to run tasks like that in the first place. So you're not really gonna be able to notice your overclock at work in those particular scenarios. But for things like editing and more heavy-duty 3D rendering applications, for example, overclocking can actually give you some real-world benefits that are a bit more tangible. What would be your perfect burrito? Probably one with $1 million inside of it, because I have expensive taste. How do you feel now tasting actual Japanese food like sushi and ramen and having to go back to what the US has to offer? Also, what was your favorite part? Well, the sushi that I had in Japan was really, really good, but it's nothing that I couldn't get back home at the same time, because the sushi game here in LA is so fierce and the competition is just wild that good sushi is never too hard to come by. But more obscure Japanese dishes or items like ramen, while you can find certainly really good ramen places here on the West Coast, I felt like they were on every single block in Japan. Just each bowl more tantalizingly delicious than the last, and some of the best ramen I've ever had in my life. As far as my favorite part of Japan, there's so much to choose from. One thing that sticks out though was the one day or one night that Wifey Sauce and I got to stay at a traditional ryokan, or a traditional Japanese inn, where we had like a hot springs tub in our actual room. It was kind of like in a private backyard attached to our room. It was magical in every way. The staff and service was just excellent to a T, and it was unlike anything I've really ever done before. Where would you like to see your channel in 5 years? Still standing would be a great start. And it's really hard for me to project exactly what I want the channel to look like 5 years from now, because YouTube and the tech industry, everything's changing so rapidly, it's hard to really create a roadmap there. But I don't really think it matters exactly what my YouTube channel looks like 5 years from now, as long as I'm continuing to create content that I truly value and believe in. Videos that I enjoy making, and not creating content just for views or based on pressures coming from the audience or from other content creators. Just doing stuff because I want to. And if I can make a living continuing to do that, what I have been for the last 4 years full time, that'll be more than enough for me. What's the scariest thing you feel when it comes to your channel? I guess the biggest concern that keeps me up at night the most would be having to watch the channel die off. Whether it gets killed overnight by YouTube for whatever stupid reason, or the algorithm messes with the channel until it's completely irrelevant, or it's something that's on me, where I no longer can create decent videos, or I lose an interest for what I do, and I just have to watch this thing that I've built up for so long and put so much time and love into just disintegrate in my hands. That still is a terrifying thought to this day. At the same time, it's the same thought and fear that gets me motivated, that keeps me motivated to get off my ass and create the best possible videos I can to ensure that doesn't happen. So it's definitely a real fear that can haunt me from time to time, but I also think it's a necessary one. If you could create, design, and manufacture one piece of hardware, what would it be and why? Probably a mini ITX case. I enjoy the form factor. I love building small form factor systems, and I think one of the main reasons for that is I like the challenge of cramming as much functionality into the smallest amount of mass possible, and being able to manufacture and engineer a product from the ground up that would do that sounds like a fun and exciting prospect to me. I don't know what I would call it. It'd have to be clever enough to compete with the Dan case. So maybe like the Kyle case. Have you thought about moving out of California to avoid the excessive business fees and taxes like Jay's 2 cents is considering? No, I have never considered that. The thoughts crossed my mind, but I've never seriously considered moving out of California. Wifey Sauce and I enjoy living in California. It's expensive as hell to live here. It's even more expensive to own an S Corp, which we do in the state of California. But at the same time, we like where we live. You get what you pay for, I guess, in terms of the convenience that, the area of California we live in offers, and our family's here. Both Wifey Sauce's and my family are within a 1 or 2 hour radius of our house right now, and we honestly wouldn't have it any other way. How lame is Linus in real life? Oh, God, he is even lamer in person than online. If you could even imagine that. Once you see the socks and sandals at arm's length, it changes you, because it's deeply disturbing. And that is why I no longer talk to Linus in person. I only ever DM him, even when he's 2 feet away from me. So that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for submitting those questions. This was a lot of fun. And now that I'm back from Computex, I just have this one little jet lag hump to get over, and once the dust settles after that, I will be back into the swing of things, creating more videos for the channel that I'm very excited to share with you guys. So get subscribed so you don't miss any of that, and toss a like on this video if you enjoyed it. There will be more coming very soon. You can also check me out on FLOATPLANE if you want to watch my videos a week early without ads for $3 a month. I'll put a link for that in the video description. Till next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourselves a good one, and I'll see you very soon in the next video.